Intro.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That was beautiful on your end as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just
Wow.
copying what you did off the microphone right before I started recording.
Just such a copycat.
I can't help myself.
Oh,
Copycat is the highest form of flattery.
that's right. I feel so.
There's a different word for copycat.
Imitation.
Yeah, imitation.
Imitation is
Sounds
the highest
better.
form of flattery.
So today we have Daniel Scott. He's from Super Specific Artist Management.
Which is super specific.
Super Specific.
Yeah.
It's based here in London. He was great.
I love him.
He's so articulate.
He is so articulate and so well spoken, but
Yes.
also very smart. And we learned some surprising stuff, including that he was a classical musician.
Yes.
Unlike myself.
Piano and saxophone.
So we had some bonding.
Yeah.
That was really
You
sweet.
guys should have dual pianos sometime.
But I love that I can play piano and he can play mad saxophone.
Okay. Well, he said he played piano before, and then he
That's
picked
true.
up the.
Yeah.
Maybe saxophone and piano would be better together. You guys could just do a jazz gig.
We could do a jazz gig
Yeah.
and go to Ronnie Scott's. Off we go. Anyways,
That'd be fun.
He was fantastic.
He was really great, and he actually, the reason we found him was because he wrote me an email asking if I was interested in artist management or just having a conversation, and I'm like, hey man, I'm old, I'm not really interested in that, but I really appreciate you reaching out, because he was very sweet and is professional. And I said, to reverse inquiry you, would you like to be on our podcast? And so we had Daniel Scott join us, and he was awesome.
He's up to some really cool stuff, I think.
Yeah, the one thing I
Great.
remember though,
Yep.
no, I won't say that.
Okay, don't
Daniel
give it away. Daniel loves, doesn't he?
Loves.
Daniel loves beer.
Daniel
or
loves
likes
beer.
Likes beer, loves beer.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, hope it's okay. We told everyone that. Please enjoy.
You buried the lead there.
Please enjoy Daniel Scott.
When you say silly, just like, what do you mean?
I just had no idea what I was doing.
Oh, right, okay.
I would just make stuff up, and I didn't measure anything, and it was more just like
Oh, those are the best kind of
fun.
drinks.
And then I would just try it and be like, ugh. Sometimes it was great. Sometimes it
Yeah.
was like, ooh,
50-50,
But it was all just very improvised and very not proper. So any real mixologist would have been cringing, I think, the whole time. But I had fun.
If you make it strong enough, it doesn't really matter.
I guess so. Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. And a lot of
Depending
people
on your mood, I guess. But yeah.
people started being like, make it this and make it that. And I was like, how weird is it? Like, why do people enjoy watching this? It's kind of funny because
Yeah.
it was just so random.
No,
But
really
I had a great
cool.
time. So that kind of ties in with
Yeah. So that's how we kind of ended up here
Yes.
with Daniel Scott.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi.
We're going to start with the cocktail. So we're going to take a slight transition over to the counter and make it really quick, and then we'll come back.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
So it's pretty straightforward.
Yes. It is.
Which is lovely. Thank you for that.
I'll tell you the truth. I've never actually made one.
You just consume them.
I just
You're a
consume them.
consumer.
I've never made any drink actually, other than just a pour.
Well, here we are then.
This feels so wrong. I love it.
Nah.
I mean,
It's a little less. Coconut cream.
Yeah.
Okay. This is just full disclosure, my first time making a Piña Colada as well.
Ah, well, we're in it together.
This is easy.
yeah.
Nice, good call.
Maybe I will make this pour at home.
What?
There we go.
It's not super thick,
Smells good.
but it smells good. It's delicious. Was it missing anything? You know Piña Colada better than I do.
No, I think that's good. I can really taste the rum, so that's also.
Can you? Okay, good.
I think I can.
You okay?
It's not too sweet.
No, I wasn't expecting this to be
sweeter. Yeah.
Yeah.
something
Fantastic.
Nice.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Let's have a seat. Let's do it. All right.
All right.
Here we are.
Yes.
We are finally here with our drinks, our Piña Coladas, with Daniel Scott from Super Specific.
Yes.
So,
How specific?
yes,
though?
Super
Come on.
Specific is like a
Be
bold
more
name.
specific.
Oh my god, I get
For
this
a-
question all the time.
Oh, yeah, I'm just curious, like, where to come from.
So honestly, it actually just started from a little side hustle I had before I even started it. I was just like making these playlists with incredibly specific titles.
Oh, okay.
They were a
Like,
bit
for
nerdy.
example?
So like, gosh, off the top of my head, it was like songs for the Jubilee and then like a bunch of other words that were incredibly specific about like what was happening or something. And anyway, when I quit my job and started my own company, I was like, well, I've done all of the branding. I quite like the name. It's quite catchy.
Yeah.
I've got the domain. So honestly, I just started using it and went from there. And I guess like along the road, so fundamentally it's an artist management company.
Right.
And I've really just been developing a specific approach, which is really focused around building a sustainable business and using ads as the primary driver of that. And so that's the specific approach, I guess.
Super specific.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great. Actually, I was curious. On your website,
Yes.
it said you've worked in both the US and UK markets, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Online.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Is there a difference between the two that you've noticed at all as far as like UK consumers for music and US consumers for music? And she would like to
What
know.
have you got against Canada?
Yeah.
No, nothing against Canada. No, yes, I have noticed a difference between the two markets. I mean, first and foremost, the US is just so much bigger,
Right.
which by virtue means there's more opportunity. But I've also just noticed there's a real difference in mindset between UK-based artists and North American artists, which has been really fascinating.
Yeah.
I tend to find there's a little bit more of a entrepreneurial flair in North Americans, much more open to trying new things. And in such a fast-moving industry, I found that to be much easier to work with.
I can see that.
And then your question was about fans and like how are they different? I haven't noticed a massive difference in terms of fans between those two regions specifically, but being able to kind of try the latest thing that people are moving towards quicker
Yeah.
is definitely better.
Okay. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense as far as for me as an American, like you learn from the second you can understand things, like pick yourself up by your bootstraps and figure it out and all this stuff. Like
Be a go-getter.
Yeah, be a go-getter.
Yeah.
Like you can make it if you try hard enough, kind of a thing, no matter where you are.
Which I think is fantastic, but is sometimes quite an unsexy thing here. Like, it's like, oh, why don't you just get a real job and like
Yeah, totally.
collect the paycheck, which just does not fit with the way my brain is wired.
I like it. No, I gotten that question. I've been in the music for almost 20 years. So like in my mind, hearing, so what do you do for your real job? Though?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
for like, it just rolls off my shoulder now. But like, if you're in music, that's just the question you're gonna get.
Yeah.
No matter what branch of music you're in, that's
Yeah.
gonna be the question.
No, it's so true. And I find myself having to explain what I do in like dramatically different ways depending on who I'm speaking to. So my mother-in-law still has no idea what I do.
Yeah.
Could she understand though if you tried to explain it to her? It's maybe overhead
Yeah.
playlists alone. Like my parents don't
Yeah,
get.
so that side of the family is much more in the kind of traditional finance corporate world,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I tend to
Yeah.
explain it in that kind of
Okay.
way,
Right.
which I think makes more sense.
That's
Essentially,
smart. You're a
marketing, I
music
guess, or
interpreter.
business development.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Do you find Americans are much more, and this probably is similar to what you're just saying, but just much more willing to kind of toot their own horn, for like lack of a better expression? Is that an expression that people use over here?
Yes, that's a thing.
To be like, I'm great, you know?
Just confident.
Artist-wise, much more kind of, see, I would just call that American, much more American, to be like, yeah, I'm great. Whereas
They have to like
Here.
fool themselves into believing that they're sometimes better than they are in order to try and get to that place they're trying to get to, I feel.
which can come across as arrogance, I think, very often to British people.
Totally. No, totally.
And the world at large. But like, just kidding.
And Canadians.
It's an interesting point. I guess there is a sense of that, although most artists I talk to who are UK based and tend to have a very quiet confidence to have got to where they got to.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's something deeper than that. It's not even just like the sense of self-confidence, but I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but it is just like I said before, this much more like this acceptance of going the entrepreneurial route
Right.
for Americans just seems to work better.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think we're just fed that. Not
Yeah.
everyone, but a lot of people are fed the idea of go
You
do
can
it on your own.
Yeah, go do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So figuring out how to do all those different side things as a musician, like making your own artwork and figuring out how to release stuff, and it's just like was built into from a baby. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad started his own business. It wasn't in music, but like in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's what you have to do now, right?
And I mean, it's exciting starting your own business. It's incredibly liberating. It's also sometimes quite scary, I think, which is definitely a reality of it. But it's funny. I sometimes look at it on a bad day and I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I think, well, I wouldn't be doing anything else, because the whole way through my life, I've always chosen to kind of like make my own thing out of it path.
Yeah.
And so, it's interesting. But like I said, I think artists that have that mentality, I find, are much easier to work with. And that's ultimately where I focus.
Because you can suggest things and they'll be
And
like,
they're up
okay.
for it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Are you a musician as well?
I am, yes.
How exciting. Say more.
So,
Yes.
interestingly, I actually started out in classical music.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, exciting. So I learnt the piano as a kid, and I started playing the saxophone when I was like 15 or 16, which is really late. Like, most people were like, just don't bother. And to me, that was
true.
like, challenge accepted.
Yes,
Oh, yes,
exactly.
that's what we hear about you.
Yeah. So I started, and I don't know, I guess when I set my mind to a goal, I'm quite, I don't know what the word is, but relentless about pursuing that goal.
Yeah.
And so in 2 years, I went from couldn't play the saxophone to, I don't know if you know the music grades in the UK, but there are 8 of them. And I managed to do that in 2 years. And then I ended up getting a scholarship to the Royal College of Music to study saxophone just a couple of years later.
That's awesome.
It was a really cool achievement. I was really proud of it. And then anyway, I went through the Royal College of Music experience, which was fun, challenging, everything you can probably imagine. And I got to the end, and I was graduating as the pandemic started.
Right.
And I was like, oh, crap, like, this is the worst thing to be going into, live performance. And I had some really cool things lined up at like Ronnie Scott's and all of this kind of thing, and it all fell through. Anyway, so I decided to...
It was a bad time for live music,
I mean, everyone had the same thing, right? And so I decided to put on some live concerts, just like live streams for friends. It was meant to be really small. It ended up going over a year. We had 12 concerts. There were like hundreds of people buying tickets for each one, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, maybe there's something on the business side like I'm not so bad at, given I was doing that with next to no knowledge of how to execute it.
Yeah.
And so, I kind of started in the classical world. That kind of got me somewhere in between. And then I got a job at an artist services company, which was very much on the pop music side of things. And through that, I just really developed a love of the pop side as well. And I mean, I've always loved pop music, but just the intricacies of that. And so that's what led me to where I am today.
Wow.
And it's interesting because I feel I have a really interesting perspective on what it means to give a great live performance.
Yes.
Which is clearly an important part.
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
It's nice you can see it from both sides too.
It's not always the case.
Yeah, we were talking before about classical music because my degree is in classical piano.
Amazing.
And I just want to mention that it's super specific.
It is.
Which was my biggest takeaway from university. And we joke because my professor was like a world-renowned classical pianist, and he'd be like, "Do you think you could do like all the notes right, or just we're just gonna?" Because I just like a little bit of room, to just.
Leslie wants to be herself.
I just want to be myself a little bit, but it's so super specific, and that wasn't a world that I was like. I wasn't so passionate about it, so I didn't have because there is that mindset of like this is like. When I went to university, I was like, whoa, these people are serious about this. They're real serious. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, it's really interesting. So before I started there, and I still am, I was obsessed with film music.
Right.
I used to like write my own stuff, record like saxophone parts over it,
Nice.
like make up all sorts of things. And then I went to music college and I found it incredibly rigid and specific. Like it was play the notes on the page exactly how they're written.
Yes.
And if you deviate, that's like rubbish
wrong.
and you're wrong. And I just... by the end was like, I just don't feel creative anymore. I mean, might as well just get a computer program to do it. And so that kind of put me off as well. I mean, I must admit, when I left, I didn't play saxophone for a year, given I was practicing like 5, 6, 7 hours a day when I was there.
It's real.
So it's really interesting. But also, just on the point of being specific, I also found it to be incredibly niche because I play classical saxophone in particular, which I mean is not massively in demand if we're honest.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's an interesting space, and I do love it, but I don't regret my choices.
Right.
Were there saxophones when we just saw that show? Carmina
Burana.
Burana. Were there saxophones in that?
Yeah, it was a full orchestra.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to remember if I saw like one or two saxophones in the back with the horn section.
I feel like yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just
might
curious.
have.
But then there's only like, for the whole orchestra, there's one or two saxophones.
Well,
right?
yeah, so saxophone isn't very commonly used in orchestral stuff. So when you do see it, that's quite a rare event.
So maybe there wasn't. We have to look at the pictures.
Yeah,
There could have been. I can't remember about that specific one, but
because there's flute, like woodwinds.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a big
French
orchestra,
horn.
so I'm kind of assuming there were, but I actually don't.
Yes.
But it tends to either be that you do a lot of like session work, or like pit bands and things for musical theatre, or if you're super hardcore in the classical space, you just set up your own quartet and plug away and find that super niche audience. Not for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like your entrepreneurial soul could have done that if you wanted to.
Maybe. I guess we'll never know.
That's okay.
So when you did your concerts in lockdown, did you do them on Zoom? And were you playing solo, or what was that?
So I actually invited friends to do it, and so we pre-recorded it because I just didn't think I had the technical expertise to do a live stream and not mess it up, given people were paying.
Yeah.
So we pre-record it. It was properly edited with like concert notes inserted and all sorts of things.
Nice.
Oh, right.
And then it would just be made available at the time, and people could watch it in a time window.
On a platform, or
on a website I designed, just using like
goodness,
Vimeo and that kind of thing.
But it gets rid of a lot of like the technical issues that you could have doing an actual live thing.
Exactly.
That's really nice.
Exactly, and
That's
I mean,
smart,
you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, given people were paying, I thought that was probably the way to do it. But also giving them a small time window so that it felt like they had to watch it that evening. Otherwise, it was just the same as watching something on YouTube, right?
Right.
But it was also an interesting format because things were highly perfected, and that's kind of a theme in my life, that I'm quite a perfectionist. However, I do remember one experience, which was before one of the events. I was watching through the footage just to make sure it was all fine, and I'm not really sure why I did that just half an hour before, because it's all pre-edited, so trying to export, can you imagine? Anyway, somehow I had missed somebody saying something in one of the videos, like a swear word or something.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, this can't go out. And I've got like 25 minutes or something. So I'm like frantically trying to export from Adobe. And I get it uploaded, and it went out on time, but I have never been so stressed in my life.
Yeah.
And that really actually taught me the value of processes, which is something I find really valuable now working with artists, to avoid things like that. But my God, I was stressed. Like,
I bet. No, oh my gosh. Also, like, even if you can get it done, like, you've done it, but like the exporting of the files, the re-uploading of the files, all that stuff. Just takes
There's lots
time.
that can go wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed it, but anyway, it was a good learning experience.
It would have felt a little more live, maybe.
Yeah, I guess so.
I have maybe an easy question, but like, as you work with different artists, what's something that what is success for an artist that you're working with, or for you?
No, that's a great question. And I think it is slightly different for every artist. For me, success is creating something sustainable. In other words, like if we're spending on promotion, for example, we have a plan to make more than we spent at some point, which is actually something a lot of people seem to forget, which I always find crazy. But in terms,
I've worked with those people.
Yeah, there are a lot of people like that, which blows my mind. Yeah. But in terms of like general success for each artist, I think it really depends, and I always sit down with artists at the beginning and like really work out, where do you want to be in 3 or 5 years time, because that's ultimately what it takes to build something that lasts, right? And anyone that wants it in 6 months, I can't help. And so it varies. For some people that's a live performance career, and that takes a very set number of inputs to make that happen. For other people, it is purely just recordings. For other people, it is just like selling their skills, like production or writing. And I think it's really important to be clear on those things from the get-go. And I tend to prefer working with artists where there is like a really strong set of skills that we can leverage, because I think it's really hard to build an audience, and often you don't make any money from that audience for a really long time. You have to have some way to pay for it.
That's true, yeah.
So that's really how I think about it.
Well, I like it. You have lots of processes, like you were mentioning earlier. Seems like a really good kind of characteristic for an artist management. Yeah, that's great.
I've had mixed experiences with artist management, and I do find it's interesting because I like that you know it from both sides, as in you have the musical background as well, and have done performances and stuff like that. I feel like that's really valuable. And I have found many people who are really keen on spending a lot of money with no way to ever make that money back and come out ahead, and then they'd like to be paid a lot of money to do that for you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, and I find that, and it's interesting because the business has changed a lot. I think since you and I both started, it's changed so much. And so
Spotify wasn't even around.
Yeah, like the models that did work don't work. It's such a constant adjustment, I think. I am not good at the processes probably, so this sounds very valuable, like what you're talking about. Just someone who feels like, I've never actually felt like anyone I've worked with in a management capacity or consulting capacity actually has a really solid system in place. It's kind
of like a grasp
where there's that's based on
picture.
Results as opposed to just like, well, we'll just hope for the best, we'll just see what, like that is really stressful. And when you're the artist who's putting in the money to do this stuff.
Unless your dad's rich or something.
Exactly.
That sometimes happens, I assume.
Maybe, I guess.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I had a sort of a label. I was signed for a while, but like it wasn't a real label. They were like a studio / label. So like I was getting stuff pushed and they were recording for free and stuff like that. But they were also kind of figuring it out as we were going. So like having someone who kind of has like a better big picture for it all. I think they were trying to figure it out as we were going, and like they wanted to find that out together a little bit. But because I'd been doing music for a little while, and I was like, I wasn't really sure either. But then they didn't know, so we both kind of were just kind of like
to the table here.
Trying to, I mean, I was getting free recordings, and I was getting to meet a lot of cool people, but like having zero kind of like a goal in mind or like a direction was really kind of making it. I mean, it didn't work out in the long run, but it was just one of those processes. You don't really notice that when you're in it. You're like, oh yeah, I'm getting things for free. I'm signed right now,
which feels great.
It does, but then you're also like at 2-3 years later, you look back, you're like, what happened? I didn't do it. Like nothing actually happened. I have like 5 good songs from that section of my life, and I met some cool people. But like other than that, did it change anything? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really common story, isn't it? I think, like in any line of business, from what I can tell, things are always changing and there are always unknowns. And so it is about how do you test that? I mean, I'm really intrigued by the marketing strategy of the Diary of a CEO podcast with Stephen Butler. Yeah. And they've got some fantastic people behind the scenes, like Grace Andrews and some others, whose whole mentality is about experimenting. Like, I think they even employ someone whose title is something like head of failure or that kind of thing. Yeah. The idea is like, anyone that says they know is honestly just bullshitting. I feel. I mean, and I'm also the first to say I'm relatively young. I certainly don't know everything. And that's one of the reasons when I start with artists, I say, what are your goals? Because if it's to do a stadium concert, I have no idea how to do that. And I don't have no clue who to speak to. Maybe someone else would be better. But I think there's always that element of experimentation. I think that's healthy. But I think I always like to say, I'm not really convinced in a plan unless I can make the math. If I can't make it work in a spreadsheet, then I don't necessarily think we should do it, or certainly not in a big way. Small tests perhaps, but I think it's really important. And I've seen that in so many different cases, and I've also had many conversations with artists where it's clear that mentality is coming from the other side, that I just want to speak to this person and it'll all work out. And I'm like, well, I just want to win the lottery and have a mansion, but it'll all work out. That's not my life plan.
And I'm relying just solely on that one.
Yeah, and so I think it's a really interesting dynamic.
Well, you seem to have a good grasp on kind of like what you can do or help with, as opposed to like just saying yes to everyone. Give me your money and I will do this for you, but like no actual guarantees. Which in music you can't really guarantee much. Maybe streams on Spotify. So I think it's good to have a solid like mindset on that. So
I think so.
Bravo, yeah.
Thank you.
So a little less formal questions here. What was the first album you ever bought?
Oh my gosh. First album.
If you can remember.
I don't know if I ever bought an album initially. I used to love buying singles.
That counts. That's okay.
Does that count?
Yeah, we can do that.
So, I mean...
First one you can remember.
I can't remember the name, but it was one of the pieces, I guess, from the soundtrack of How to Train Your Dragon.
Right.
I used to weirdly not listen to the whole thing, just buy singles, even of soundtracks, and just go through them. And yeah, it was a weird habit, but
No, that's great. I love soundtracks, especially when they're done well. Like Lord of the Rings soundtrack. I listened to that in my car when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I loved that.
But it's really interesting because I always used to struggle listening to long bodies of work, I guess. Like sitting through a symphony, for example, like, oh my God, I could never ever make myself do that. But over the last few years, I've taken a lot more time to listen to albums, and actually that tends to be my default now. So like, there's a brilliant album called Calico by an artist called Ryan Beatty.
Okay.
It's just amazing. You should listen to it. I don't think it's done particularly well, but I absolutely love it. And it's just weird that for me that's come a little bit later, because I know a lot of people do start by listening to albums and that kind of thing.
I think it's a little different nowadays too.
Yeah, you love it on the whole because of, like, I feel like the art of actually having an album is quite lost.
It's kind of getting lost,
point,
I think, unless you're like a big artist or like a smaller artist that wants to like has that like goal. But most people are releasing singles, maybe EPs.
Yeah, it feels to me now very.
Unless you're Dua Lipa or Ed Sheeran or something. You can release albums all the time.
Yes.
But then do people listen to those whole albums? I'm wondering, because even artists that I like, when I think about, I used to love to get an album and listen to. That's when I was growing up. You had a CD, and that's what you did, and you put it on in your car, like whatever, and listen to the whole thing through. You couldn't just like switch around or have playlists or whatever in the way that you can now. And I feel like people thought more about the arc of an album and like what is the whole thing trying to say, that whole process. And then I don't know, like I'm thinking, do Dua Lipa fans listen to her whole album, do we think? Or
I think it's a really interesting question, because clearly playlists are a massive factor in terms of how people listen, and that's driven singles to be the predominant
well, you found
way
this
of
lately so much,
engaging with an
all
artist.
singles.
Yeah, but I also think it depends on the platform you use. So like I use Spotify and Apple Music just out of pure personal curiosity, I guess. And I find my listening changes when I use one platform or the other. So Spotify predominantly just playlist or even algorithmic stuff is how I consume. I tend to use Spotify if I've got people coming over and I just want some background music. And Apple has all of that, but it's just easier with Spotify. Apple seem to push the album format much more. And I find that I tend to consume albums much more on that platform. And I also see across artists that there tends to be, like, it's not a massive difference, but a slight difference in terms of crossover from one track to the next on Apple Music versus Spotify. So I think it's in large part how we're fed stuff, as opposed to necessarily just people like having less of an arc in their creative work.
It's true.
I wonder if it must be generational too, though, because
I think albums would be a little.
I have the nostalgia. Like my dad, for instance, has like the hugest vinyl collection I've ever. It's just like thousands and thousands of vinyl, and that's such a key part of his whole childhood, like growing up, because that was what they did. And then I grew up on albums really first, like without streaming. It's like maybe the concept of a whole album isn't even a thing for people who are 20.
I don't know.
It's, like you were saying, it's kind of handed to you nowadays. So like you can get as much music pushed into your face as you want, without actually putting much effort in.
Yes,
which is not like buying an album. When you're like, I love this artist, I want to hear the new album. Now it's like I can listen to this one artist I like, and then hear 50 other artists that I like.
Or that I don't even know that I might like.
Music-wise, the style that I like. Exactly. So it's an interesting, it's like really awesome in a lot of ways, because a lot of people are getting discovered this way. Like new artists are getting a lot more opportunity in this way. But it's also that like kind of magic of listening to a full album and like really like connecting with an artist like on this one piece of work is like getting lost almost completely.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
It's like a 2.5-3 minute song is like the only thing you hear, and then the next artist comes along. So again, it's good in some ways and it's bad in some ways. So it's, you know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And I mean, you know, some of the biggest artists are still making it work.
Yeah.
Like Taylor Swift is an obvious example, who's just a juggernaut.
Yeah.
But like Folklore and Evermore released, I think during the pandemic, they were just like a masterclass in leaning into the streaming era, producing an album that I listen regularly to the whole thing back to end as a way to relax. I mean,
it's great,
like she knows how to do it, right?
It's true.
So it's possible, but it is much. Well, I don't know even if it's fair to say it's much harder, because I also sometimes think about the fact that whilst consumption is focused around singles a lot more now, it was also much harder to get your music into a record shop, like way back when.
True, yeah.
And so I don't have concrete stats to back that up, but I imagine like there is something there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember when I was as like a younger artist, like I was able to release music on iTunes. I was like, oh, I could put music and people can buy it.
Yes.
And the first one I ever released, there I didn't have any fans, and like 400 people bought it. And I'm like, this is the most I'm ever gonna make in my life from a song. The song sounded like garbage, but they didn't care. They're like, he's on iTunes. I'm just gonna buy it because he's there, because it was so novel, you know? This idea of buying something. It was awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, these things have changed, like I said, but
there's no effort required now at all to get music.
There's so many companies just putting your music onto those streaming platforms.
My dad used to go.
So you need to have a super specific process to get through that.
Super specific. Oh, well done, Luke.
Yeah, you need somebody to help you with that. Hit Daniel Scott up. This is a random question, but we've thought about it. If you don't have an answer, it's okay, because it's kind of hard to think of off the top of your head, unless you thought of it prior. If you had a Ben & Jerry's ice cream named after you, like Leslie's got one for herself, or do you not?
I kind of don't. Like, I kind of feel like I'm on...
Okay, just tell them what Brandy Carlisle's was.
Oh. Do you like Brandy Carlisle?
Uh-huh.
I heard her on a podcast talking about this. This is her like lifelong dream. She's also from the States, and Ben & Jerry's is such a big... We used to go to Vermont. Our family used to go to Vermont every March break to go skiing.
Yeah.
Like, there's 5 of us girls. We would all pile in a van with... My parents would drive us like 12 hours to go to skiing holidays in Vermont. And literally, every day we would go to the Ben & Jerry's factory and just buy all of it. Like, it was the best thing that's ever happened.
Wow.
The best thing that ever happened.
That sounds amazing.
I don't know if you could get it in Canada at all, but anyways. And then they had like an outlet, like where you could. And
that didn't put you off. I remember going to the Cadbury factory here in the UK, and then just didn't eat chocolate for several years.
Well, so I think because it seemed so novelty for like that seemed to be like the only time, and they had all these crazy flavors, and we just thought it was so fun.
Yeah.
But it's not like we could then eat, like once we went home, that was it. So it was like one week of like, oh my gosh. And as an
ice cream heaven
kid with sugar. Oh, but anyways, Brandy Carlisle said hers is Candy Barlisle.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
Candy Barlisle.
Candy Barlisle.
That's a good
Isn't
name.
Isn't that good?
I like that.
So it's like candy, because she
it.
listed all her favorite candy bars.
Oh, okay.
It would be in a vanilla base, she said, and then and it just sounded so good. But this is her lifelong dream, according to her on this podcast.
We don't have this as like lifelong dreams, but it was just curious.
You have one.
Oh
mine's terrible.
What's yours?
Well, my artist name is my full name, Luke James Schaefer. So I was like something that rhymes with Luke is like Scoop. I'm like, okay, Scoop Jam Wafer. Scoop Jam Wafer. And it wouldn't be it would maybe have like...
Do you love jam?
On toast.
In ice cream? Like, it might
I don't know.
really
I don't know.
good.
It might be fine.
Strawberries
but like
and
a wafer
would
vanilla
be really good.
And jam of some sort, it would be fine.
It actually does sound
It'd be like
really good.
it'd be fine.
That sounds. Oh gosh, I'm so bad at coming up with things on the spot.
Me too.
Although the first things that have come to mind are like the Ben & Jerry's brownie one. What's it called? I can't remember exactly.
I can think of the half baked, but not the brownie one.
Yeah, and then there's a Haagen-Dazs like strawberries and cream, and those are 2 of my favorites. So I guess if I was trying to put myself into it, those would be part of it, I guess.
Right.
The brownies and
strawberries
and cream.
Oh gosh, help me out.
Yeah, right.
It's so tricky to do a fun name.
Yeah,
it's like this is part of that's the whole thing of Ben & Jerry's. It's like the names are so funny.
They're very well done, but they have like a marketing team.
You know, Fish Food is based on the band Fish, right?
Yeah. That's actually a really good one too.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
That's all right. It's one of those things that, like,
see, if you like,
you might not be able to come.
If you were I'm trying to work the
biscotti.
Biscotti. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Daniel Biscott.
That could work.
You could get back to us.
Yeah, all right, I'll follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, follow
That
up.
is a tricky one on the
When we do
spot.
your intro, he'll be like, we got a text from Daniel, his Ben & Jerry's.
We're happy to announce.
Yes.
We have an official name, and it's going to be launched in 2027.
Oh my gosh. Can I ask, just like out of curiosity, what does your kind of normal day look like in your working life? Because is it quite similar day to day, or is it a bit all over the place?
It's a bit all over the place, I guess. I mean, I tend to work with a bit of a structure, otherwise I just don't know where to be or what to do. But I guess like I tend to do artist client work in the morning, so whatever that might be at the time. So, you know, in the summer period, that's just like making sure releases are in order and looking at live events and that kind of thing. And then through the fall, maybe it's more strategic stuff like what are we going to do next year? Who do we need to be contacting, or what do we need to be thinking ahead to? And then in the afternoon, I tend to spend a lot of time doing research, both in terms of artists I'm interested in working with, but also what fans are taking an interest in. So I spend an unhealthy amount of time with the tool Chartmetric, if you know it.
Yeah, I love it.
What is it called?
Chartmetric.
It's a really great repository of data, and I end up just exporting this data and doing all sorts of stuff in spreadsheets and
It's super
things.
helpful. I mean, if you know how to use data. If you know how to use data, it's so helpful.
It is.
Yeah, there's so much there.
Yeah, I make that a really big part of the approach, actually. And so, yeah, that tends to be how the day works out. But, I mean, invariably things come up and you think, oh, crap, and everything goes out the window and
Plan's ruined.
you're working late or whatever. But, yeah, that's the day-to-day, I guess.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, another fun question.
Okay.
All right, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
No fun allowed.
No, this
No
is just
fun.
not fun. We've been asking our guests. This is just, it's like,
So random,
okay, so this
but
one,
I think I know
my
what you're
wife's
doing.
Sam, she got a text from a friend and it was like an Instagram post or whatever. And it's like, if you were Jesus, what would your blood and body be? So mine, for me, if I was Jesus, or you don't have to say, it's a weird way to
A
say if I was
religious thing.
Jesus.
If you were, if it was the Church of Luke James
if they were
Schaefer.
taking communion to Daniel Scott, what would it be? If it was mine, I've chosen bourbon and a Mike and Ike.
Okay.
Leslie's,
Listen, mine is going to change now because yesterday, if you'd asked me yesterday afternoon,
it would have been a margarita.
I would have said a margarita
Yeah.
and a scoop of mint ice cream.
They don't go together.
Mint chocolate ice cream. They don't go together at all. But now, after my margarita situation last night, I might never drink another margarita.
I understand that.
So I
I used to
think I
really
need
like
to
cider
adjust.
and then never again after a bad experience.
That's a tough one, though, actually.
Yeah.
If you get a really bad cider hangover, is
The sugars. The
It's
sugar.
horrible.
Anyway, so I'm.
So it's kind of two things you
Yeah.
enjoy that you would want your followers to also enjoy. And it's just like a bite, like one small bite of something.
I think it would be biscuits and beer.
Oh, nice.
So I am terrible with biscuits to the point where I don't buy biscuits because I
biscuits.
cannot open a packet and not finish it, no matter how big the packet is.
I love that. That's me. I love
No,
that.
it's just not possible. And I remember for my 21st.
What, like in one sitting?
Yeah.
Oh,
I know it's not.
Can I send you home with some biscuits? 'Cause I got a lot
that'd
that
be
I'm
lovely.
not
You don't have to
gonna-
buy
Actually, no. Do you know what? No.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't tempt me.
No biscuits today.
As a joke for my 21st birthday, my mum bought me 21 packets of hot dogs.
Oh my
But she
gosh.
thought it was hilarious, and I saw it and I was like, oh my
Challenge
god.
accepted.
That couldn't be one sitting, but that was
That's really
next
funny.
level. And then beer, because first of all, I like drinking beer. But it's funny, when I first met my partner Joe, when I met his brothers, we had a good time, blah blah blah, and then his brother went back to their mum, and she was like, "What's Dan like?" And all he said was, Dan likes beer. And that has become like a defining thing about me.
Okay, so
Wherever
that's
we
all we know
are,
about it.
wedding
Yeah.
speeches, Dan likes
Dan
beer.
likes beer.
Dan likes
So biscuits and beer.
biscuits and beer.
How
I
would
like
you
the
describe
alliteration
Dan?
too. It
Dan likes
works.
beer.
Dan likes beer.
Dan likes beer.
Biscuits.
Yeah. Oh, is there not more to me than that?
We can use that in our intro.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we remember that for the
Dan
intro
likes
for
beer.
sure.
Yeah.
So, in super specific, or in your life in music, have you gained a piece of knowledge or advice that you kind of would give to other people in your shoes, or like in artist management?
Yes.
Okay.
I really clearly remember this. I was speaking to a guy who used to be the CEO of a sync adjacent company. They do like software royalty stuff. And he said to me, if you just think about the music industry from a manager's perspective as it's all sales, then you will do well. And I found that to be a really valuable piece of advice,
Yeah.
because obviously, if you're going to find opportunities, you need to be having that mindset. And when you look at salespeople in traditional companies, software companies or whatever, they are ruthless about finding that opportunity. And I thought that was a really great piece of advice.
That is good advice. I mean, to be ruthless in some ways.
When I say ruthless, I guess I mean relentless to find the opportunity,
relentless,
not to screw people over.
No.
Wait a minute.
I like it though. That is really good advice, and that's something that I think artists don't think about.
Yeah,
No,
you're selling yourself if you're an artist. Like,
but it's like the only quote unquote job that I can think of, and maybe you guys can think of some more.
With art in general,
you can tell me them where. For some reason, it seems like it's commonly accepted that, if you are a musician, it's okay if you just don't get paid. Like that seems like. Do you feel like that? Because I really feel like that it becomes, and especially for the artist who's on the very bottom of the rung, because there's this whole ecosystem going on above that's required.
Yeah.
For an art, and everyone above them makes their money.
but also
first.
you're paying a ton of money in order to just make your music.
But you're supposed to feel lucky
too.
that but you get to make some music. It's just such I find it such a strange. It took me a long time to get that because I was like, the monetization of it is tricky.
It is,
and I do think it's really that's really valuable advice, especially if you have someone in your corner who that is their mindset. Like it's still a business. Like you still need to be able to.
So I find it really interesting in conversations with artists because I often say not quite that line, but something similar in the beginning. Because I'm trying to suss out how willing they are to do the things that aren't very sexy, like doing production work or playing in a session band when you need to, or whatever. The things that make money to allow you to fund the marketing that is important, essential, in fact, but is really expensive and takes a long time to see any return on that investment. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think willingness to do those less sexy things, find the sales. Is really, really important, and has kind of been another thing I've really seen a strong divide in artists between the UK and the US in terms of what they're willing to do.
Oh, interesting. So you find people in the States are more up for
doing a bit of everything, I find, whereas, and this isn't universally true, and this is just my experience, but in conversations I've had with people, it tends to be, well, this is my one lane and I'm going to stick to it. I'm like, well, that's going to be pretty tricky road to walk. Yeah. And I mean, sometimes it works out. So, but
that's probably why the US has so many influencers, because they're willing to do anything in order to be seen and heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you also grow, as an artist and just as a person, those experiences that you have that maybe weren't the things that you necessarily are your ultimate dream or whatever, but I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go play. You always learn something and meet some people through all the things that you're doing, right? And that's ultimately, I think, what builds. And I've done some pretty bad, crazy shows. My dad always calls them character building shows, but anything like that. It's just you're still doing something that's in the realm of what you want to be doing. I think the hard thing is just kind of the ever dangling carrot that's kind of if you just do this now,
I'm one break
or you
away.
just invest this much more, and it's going to be. So to have someone who has a longer term plan, who is kind of...
Yeah, and I mean, that's a real problem. I mean, so many people dangle carrots.
Yeah.
I find it repulsive. It's crazy. And I mean, I come back to the earlier analogy of it's like trying to win the lottery, to take a lot of the conventional approaches, and sometimes maybe you will win, maybe you won't, but that's not a strategy.
No.
And very few businesses, in any other space, set their strategy based on
we'll just hope for the best.
We'll hope something comes in, or we just speak to the right person and not have plan B and C and D. Do you know what I mean? So
do you sorry, tangent, but you go into kind of trying to get social media involved in some of your stuff? I know you do ads.
Yes.
But do you try and get influencers to use a song in a video or something like that to do?
Yeah, so I've looked into that in the past. It can be really expensive. Yeah, and so depending on where you're at, maybe it doesn't make sense. So that's definitely something I've done before. Ads tends to be a big part of it just because it's quite predictable.
Right.
So that's definitely part of it. It just changes, I guess. But yeah, I have experimented with that.
Curious,
I find that there tends to be this attitude around social media of talking about virality and like we put out enough of the right thing and it'll go viral. And maybe it will. Maybe it will.
Maybe.
But maybe isn't a strategy.
So, yeah, to go back to the previous.
And so I tend to work with kind of like a hybrid thing where we're focusing on things where we can control most of the inputs.
Yeah.
And then we also do those things alongside and perhaps something works out, but at the very least it's a good testing bed, like I mentioned earlier, which is really important. But it's actually led to a few strategies with artists I've been working with where they haven't grown much on social media because we've been focused on other things, like, for example, getting their music in sync spaces and getting on small support slots and this kind of thing. And that's worked really well because we've got to a point where we built up the budget to now invest in social media properly rather than just hoping.
Yeah.
Spending $3 a day on Facebook ads. That's not going to help.
Yeah. Do you know, it's really funny. When I started my own company, I remember talking to an industry guy about 2 months into it, and he was like, speaking about super specific, he was like, so who have you had in the charts? And I remember thinking, in 2 months?
Yeah.
What? And I was like, and that was just like the epitome of this like hope and like like fanciful, whatever the word is, like attitude. I was like, in 2 months, if I could do that, bloody hell. I mean, like,
That's a wild question.
Yeah, so it was a really interesting thing to hear from someone that's quite well respected.
Okay.
And just further entrenched my viewpoint that you have to focus on the things you can control.
Yeah.
And the other things may or may not come, and that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. You have a process, but you also have patience.
And persistence.
Persistence.
Yeah.
How many more P words for you?
That's all I got.
All right. Let's do a few rapid fires.
Perfect. Yes, please.
We'll rate the cocktail. We'll let you do your thing.
Okay.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl.
Night owl. I know the answer to this one, but beer or wine?
Beer.
Beer.
Dan likes beer.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee, too much.
Coffee, too much. Same here, man. Crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
Oh my gosh.
Or allergic?
No, not allergic.
But we're definitely allergic.
Crunchy.
Crunchy.
Yes.
That's been that's been everyone's
one.
answer. Yeah. Okay. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Dancing Queen by ABBA.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I think it's the whole crowd going.
Yeah, wonderful.
Okay, I asked you that one. Last one, shaken or stirred? Or does it not matter? Because that's always, I'm going to take this one out, I think.
Yeah, I think it would probably be stirred, although ultimately I don't really care.
Yeah. As long as it gets
Dan
to me.
likes beer.
Yeah.
As it is. Because Dan likes beer.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll rate the Piña Colada.
Okay.
I have been
And there's a treat
drinking.
at the bottom, guys.
Oh,
just
yeah.
so you know.
Yes.
You gotta drink it
What
all.
do you think?
Well, I don't drink Piña Coladas a lot.
I would give this a solid 7.5.
I was going to say about a 7.57
Yeah.
in the high sevens.
I'm with Dan.
Yeah.
I think it's nice. I think it could be sweeter, maybe.
I was just going to say, too, it's like a little bit
I wonder if
bitter,
we would have
isn't
put
it?
that coconut milk in there
Instead
if it
of
would have
the
made
cream.
it sweeter.
Maybe.
But then it wouldn't have been as thick, although it's kind of melted a little bit now.
Yeah.
Also, I think you can make it with. When I was reading about that, I went a deep dive into the pina colada world. No, I didn't. But you can freeze the pineapple. I think if we got fresh pineapple and froze it, and then use that instead of.
Yes.
I think that would add sweetness and a bit more frothy, like smoothie.
All right, so we'll have notes
might
on
have to do
that,
a round
on
two.
how to
Yeah.
make this better on our
Yeah.
Instagram.
I think it was pretty good,
It's
though.
not terrible.
It's nice. It's a good 11 a.m. drink.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Let's say that.
Daniel Scott, thank you so much for being here
Thank
with
you
us. It
so
was absolutely
much.
lovely.
So
nice to
and
meet you.
yeah,
It's been a pleasure.
cheers,
Okay.
man.
Perfect. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.